Thanks for being here. This is probably the coolest interview we do this week, and the most significant. This is Henry Langrehr. He's from Clinton, Iowa. He was a parachutist at the Normandy invasion, and was recently back for the 80th anniversary. He's a special guest at John Deere this week, and he'll be. If you want to get him later, we can get him for one-on-ones. He's going to be up in one of the trophy suites on 17. So it's an incredible story. He was taken prisoner, went to Czechoslovakia in a train, en route, saw all these bodies stacked up at Auschwitz. Anyway, it goes on and on. He's got a book called, tell me the book again? Whatever It Took, which was co-authored by the gentleman who did the
American Sniper.
He did the American Sniper book with him. Anyway, with no further ado, and he's a big fan of John Deere. He's a John Deere tractor on his place in Clinton, Iowa. So anyway, here we go, Henry. Let's tell us a little bit about your what happened at Normandy that day when you parachuted in, and what you were doing there and why.
Okay. I'll kind of start out in England. We was ready really to go the 5th of June, but a bad storm came up in the area and we couldn't go out. So the next day it kind of cleared off. We took off and circled around to get our planes all together. There was roughly 1,000 planes there was 4 divisions. There was 2 of the English divisions, airborne divisions, and we had 2 Air Force divisions ourselves, 101st, 82nd. 82nd had been in combat for quite a while before they came to England, so they were all veterans. Most of all of us were the first time, which is kind of bad when it's the first time. As we went out over the English Channel, it was a beautiful moonlit night, and I looked down. As I was the first man in the door, I had a 20-pound bag of explosives tied to a 10-foot rope on my ankle, so I would be out the door first. Anyway, as I looked out the door, I could see ships. I swear I could have walked to America. Something nobody else will ever see again. But there were so many ships down there, I was amazed. And then overhead, the bombers were flying in ahead of us. There was about 1,000 bombers. And over top of them and in between and around them was the fighter plane protecting the bombers. So we had quite a bunch of people, and I looked at it and I thought, we can't hardly lose. But if we wouldn't have gained a foothold in Normandy, we would have been in terrible shape. And we come pretty close sometimes to doing that. It took the stamina of a lot of young men and a lot of blood to accomplish what they did. Well, to get on with my story a little bit, as we came in over Cherbourg, we took a lot of flak. The German ground fire was really very heavy, and we was flying quite low because the jumper wants to be around 800 feet, anywhere 500 to 800 feet. So you're pretty close to the ground, and we took flak. I saw one plane went down in flames and another one exploded. Our plane was hit by shrapnel. The shrapnel came through the side of the plane and killed one man on one side of me and one man on the other side. We sit on benches in the plane, so we was facing each other. And it was really pretty heavy. So everybody was anxious to get out of the plane, of course, you're sitting duck in the plane. So we exited the plane, but we weren't near our drop zone. We was probably about 4 miles away from our drop zone when we landed. I should have been closer to Chef DuPont, which was a bridge we had to take, and but I landed into St. Mary Glees. I landed in a greenhouse, but I was fortunate when I landed that the lanyard I had with the explosives on it, the 20 pounds of explosives, broke a hole for me through that glass. So I landed down on a table. There must have been plants or something on it at one time. And I realized right then I could hear shooting in the churchyard. I didn't know it was a churchyard at that time across the road. So I cut loose my lanyard and it went over the rock wall that was by the highway or the roadway there, and went into the churchyard where there was a small battle going on. And I come around the corner and I saw John Steele hanging from the church steeple. He got snagged on the roof. So he had been shot in the foot. And they did take John a prisoner at that time. The sniper that was in the church steeple and a couple other soldiers pulled him inside, and he was prisoner of war. So the next day we freed him. We took the town, so we freed him, and we had that bridge that if we couldn't hold the one at Chef DuPont, well, I was to blow it up. Well, I didn't have my explosives with me anyhow, so I'd already headed down where the fighting was going on, and I seen that the 508 had just got there ahead of us, so the bridge was pretty much secured already. Oh, the Germans were still on one side. They couldn't get across, though. And so we dug in there, and we finally overcome the Germans, and we had the bridge too. So we had the bridge in the town, and then General Gavin came down and was getting men together to go down to Langrehr because they was having quite of a battle down there. The Germans had surmounted some tanks and that on the road down there. The area was flooded. The only thing that projected above the water there was the roadways. So the Germans made a big mistake when they flooded that area because the only way to get down to the beaches was those roads and those bridges. And we controlled the one already, and we controlled the town. So we had quite a battle down at Langrehr. That was one of the biggest battles of the war. So the War Department said, I don't know. But after that, why, it was mostly fighting through the hedgerows. They're kind of like a little jungle. You have growth, real high berms of earth, probably anywhere from 10 to 15 feet high, with trees and brush and that growing out of them. So these fields were normally about the size of a football field, and they had one opening at the end where the farmers could bring their cattle in and out of those fields, and the tractors. So when we tried to assault these here hedgerows, it was, you wouldn't think people could live through that. The Germans have been there a long time. They had the fields all marked out. They did maneuvers and that there before we come anti-airborne maneuvers. So they had the area all staked out, and when they dug in, they knew exactly where they were at. We didn't. But when you went across these fields, they had machine guns that always crisscrossed across the field. So when you made an assault across these fields, it was like a killing ground. If you made it the other side, you was very lucky. But We we did a pretty good job. I think we normally took all of our objectives, but it was a long fight. So
Could I just ask you one quick question? You were back at Normandy last month. What was that like to be back there again? You know, just
Well-
related memories and being with your compatriots. What was that like, and being with the French people?
one of the main things I wanted to see was where I parachuted in through this greenhouse. And my daughter had been over before, and she knew exactly where it was at. Well, we had some friends and from Rock Island Arsenal that was helping us try to find the place too. To me, I come in a different way, and I didn't know where I was at, but my daughter did, and she found the place, and we went inside, and the man let me inside the building so I could see the inside of the building. It looked pretty much the same. It was, rock building, and building was still in pretty good shape for all those years, after 80 years. And of course, I couldn't speak to him. He speak French. I couldn't speak French. He couldn't speak English. So we took some pictures.
There you go. And you do a lot of speaking to younger generation.
Oh, yes.
Right? What do you think about now, where the younger generation doesn't seem to know a lot about what happened there in the liberation of Europe?
Well, I still have a lot of faith in our younger people. I had 4 grandsons that served in the same unit I did in the 82nd Airborne, and I had 1 great-grandson that served in the 82nd Airborne, same place I did. And that was quite an honor. But we do have young people now that stand up, volunteer, and will do their duty. And I give them a big hand for that, because, we take for granted everything we have in this country. But if you've lost it, like I did one time when I was a prisoner of war, you don't realize what you have lost. You've lost everything. I mean, when you can say what you like, you can read what you want to read, you can go where you want to go, you don't need passports, you don't need anything. We're so blessed in this nation. But one thing I would like to say was, when I was in that plane and looked down and seen all of those boats and all those planes and that, I didn't realize at the time, but 16 million men were taken out of the workforce to work in the service, and the women filled those spots making ships and boats and planes. I was totally amazed at what they had done. They never ever got credit for that, but they was making all kinds of war material for Russia, for England, for the South Pacific. Was fighting a 2-front war. I was totally amazed at what those women did. And every once in a while, when we go to Washington, D.C., which we'll do this year again, I see every once in a while Rosie the Riveters. And my wife was Rosie the Riveters. And those gals, I got to give them a big hand. They did a terrific job.
Thank you. All right. Anybody got questions? Craig?
Henry, when I visited Normandy and was told,
Excuse me, I'm kind of hard of hearing.
I'm gonna repeat for you.
Oh, okay, good. I need an interpreter.
a few years back, I visited Normandy and was told by our tour guides that the natives there still don't talk about what they experienced. How long did it take you to be able to share your story, and was it freeing when you finally could?
He said that he visited Normandy recently, a couple of years ago, and he said that the natives there don't talk about it. Don't talk about the invasion, etc. How long did it take you to start telling your story?
The 50th anniversary of D-Day. my children had said to me, "Dad, you got those medals and that in a box up there in the attic. What are those?" Well, I thought they're old enough. I should probably talk to them about it. So I was telling them about it, and newspapers caught hold of it, and I had all kinds of calls from different groups of people that wanted me to come and speak, because in schools they were not teaching, too much about World War II. And when I did speak in the schools, the history teacher will say, "Well, we got maybe a few chapters on that, but we don't really know much about World War II." And when I get done talking to them, they're amazed. They didn't realize what an effort, our country was doing, and our country was together. I mean, there was no dissension. The people pulled together. They did without. They had food stamps. They had stamps for if you wanted a pair of shoes, you had to turn your old shoes in to show you had a hole in them, and then you get a new pair. But they suffered too. And I'm sure a history book can tell you in words, but if you've lived it and you saw it, you can see the difference in our country now. Our people back then really pulled together.
How difficult was it to hang on to that story and not express it? And what did it feel like when you finally did share your story?
How difficult was it to not tell that story for a long time, and then how good did it feel when you finally were able to tell it? Was it a release?
Well, that's true. When I got out of the service, all I wanted to do was get married to my sweetheart, have a family, and I started a business, construction business, and I put my whole life into that construction business. God has blessed us so. We had a terrific business. People come to us. We didn't have to go to companies and that. They would come to us. Everything we did on time, and we were honest about what we did. And we had, I think it was 15 schools that we took care of every summer, all the construction work that they needed. So we were very fortunate. But yes, it was kind of a release when I started talking about it, because you kept that bottled up all those years, and you keep thinking about how many of your friends gave their lives, young men, 18, 20, 30 years old, gave their lives to go over a second time to get Europe straightened out. Well, they laid their lives on the line. They died, and I had one. Well, I don't even like to talk that bad. Yeah, I had one friend though that we was assaulting a hedgerow, and the Germans had dug a tank into the hedgerow, and had their gun leveled across the field there. And as we come across the field, I had just got within a good fighting range to the tank, and something knocked my helmet off and almost took my head off, and I lost my helmet. So I went on, and the German tank was built into the side of the church, and Bill, my friend, he came around, and the commander of the tank was standing up in the tank, and he shot him and killed him and threw a grenade inside and took care of that. Well, alongside of the tank that I come up on, there were 4 Germans crouched alongside of the tank for protection. So that was a little bit of sharp fighting that time. But later on, we were assaulting a little village, and Bill, my friend, we was in an apple orchard, and there was an open field to this little village, and the Germans had machine guns inside the buildings. Most of the buildings seemed to be like stone, and they had set up machine guns inside. So as we come across the field, why, it just pretty bad. Anyway, they had some mortars coming down too, and one mortar round lit behind me and it hit Bill, and he was down. So we kept going, and when we taken the little town, why, I came back to check on Bill, and he was dying, and I put him up in my arm, and and he was saying the Lord's Prayer. And I thought, my, and he had a smile on his face. And I thought, could I die like that? And I was not a Christian, so I just put it off. Well, another time, well, anyway, going through those hedgerows was really a tough place to go. Lost a lot of good men, but God was with me. I survived it, and I had a beautiful family, 2 boys and 2 girls. Had a wonderful construction business, and God blessed me. And then I think, what about those boys that died? They didn't see life at all. And that kind of gets to you.
Sure. Sure. We got one here, George. I got to repeat it.
I see you tearing up, and I think of my father who served in the Pacific. My father was in the Pacific about the time you were in Europe. He said it did not dawn on him what he had gotten into until he was on the transport ship and he saw grown men crying because they might not come home. When did it first hit you that you were in it to win it and there was no turning back?
When did it first hit you that of what you were going to do? When you were you were 19 and you were in the probably in the plane going over there. When did it first hit you? His father was in the Pacific, and he said that it didn't hit him until he was on the transport plane.
Yeah.
So when did it hit you? What you were about to do?
Well, we had trained pretty good. I mean, our training was very, very good. So we were ready to do what we had to do. But, I didn't have any fear. It was just like a new adventure to me until I seen the bullets flying. Then I thought a little different. But I mean, I really didn't have any fear. I don't know why, but I didn't. And I never had much fear. Even when I was a prisoner of war, I didn't have much fear. So I know different people, it affects different people, but not having gone through it, I didn't know what to expect. So it
Maybe
just,
you didn't.
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your John Deere connection. I hear you have a John Deere tractor on your property, and talk a little bit of it. It's a little bit lighter subject.
When I was in business, we bought our first John Deere tractor, which was a backhoe, and then when business increased, we bought some cats, and we had some forklifts that were John Deere. We had all of our John Deere equipment. We had 2 John Deere dealers close by to us, one in Fulton and one in DeWitt. And they always took good care of us, So I had a John Deere tractor myself, cut my lawn with a nice tractor. In fact, this is about the 3rd one I've had. And it's still in my garage at home. But I've always thought a lot about John Deere tractors. Parts department in the Quad Cities was just really great. They always had the parts you needed. You weren't down very long. And if I had it was to work in a plant, I'd like to work at John Deere.
Can you ask if he's a golfer, was ever a golfer, and if he's a fan of...
I'm a duffer.
Are you a golfer?
I'm a duffer. I'm not too good at that. I'm a pretty good fisherman, but but I do love golf. I've been to several of the tournaments, Iowa City, and they're always great. People are always great.
Did staring down the barrel of a tank make 4-foot putts any easier?
Did staring down the barrel of a tank make 4-foot putts any easier?
Well, I'll tell you, staring down that tank, the one that hit me was when he put his turret down and aimed right at me. I thought, oh my God, that man ain't going to shoot me with that big gun. But he did, but the shell landed behind me. But that was the end. I was wounded, then I was taken prisoner.
Did that help you keep things in your life, minor irritations in perspective?
Did that help you keep minor irritations of life in perspective?
Oh yes, yes. Nothing bothered me. You know, we've had a lot. Well, just lately here, our home up in Clinton, we had a storm up there, and we had 2 nice big oak trees down away from the house quite a ways, but it took a limb off about that big around, and it went through my kitchen window. That was just a couple of days ago. And tore up our kitchen, did a lot of damage, water all over in the house and that. And I looked at it and I thought, you know, actually, what is that compared to some other things I've seen? Not much. And you know, it always can be fixed. So I always figure, and I know we all have problems, but you know, it's the little things I guess that can really get you down. Yeah.
We good? Anything else?
Yeah. If you want, I didn't bring any along with me, but my wife and I wrote a book. It's called Whatever It Took, and you mentioned that. But it's got some of it in there, but I didn't want a lot of blood and gut stuff in it. I wanted to be more of a history lesson, which was very good. I think my author did a very good job. So the story is there, and not all of it, but a lot of it. I didn't like to talk about the other too much, you know, because everybody that writes a war story, you know, we all know what happens. Yeah, but all I can say is I love America, and I know my family loves America, and all I can say is I just hope that we all stand together firm enough, bonding enough, that outside interferences don't hurt our nation. And we're seeing a lot of that now. I'll be 100 in November. And I saw a lot of things. But most of the things I saw about America were wonderful. Even the hardest things are good. We can always overcome them. And in your life, you'll have problems, and I know you'll be able to overcome them too. But our younger generation has to, I think, learn about hardships. They've never gone through any hardships. And I'm talking about, what do they call them, the X generation now or something like that? The generation just coming up, just coming out of colleges and that. I mean, we've been fortunate in this nation. We never had a war other than Civil War fought in our country, and a Revolutionary War. But the wars they do now are just terrible. I mean, the loss of life is just horrible. And I just hope we can learn to live in peace.